Yesterday I went out for a ride and it was all raining. It was pretty miserable, but I needed to get out. I ended up talking about the election, the United States elections. You know, there's so many things that happens in politics that that are dead wrong, and there's a system in place to kind of not talk about it too much. So, you know, maybe it's good that people are getting a little bit more vocal. You know, when the Bush administration, the last Bush administration, was in power, and sad, terrible event of 9/11 and so forth happened, I think people were angry, and justifiably so, and you know, but the administration and the people behind the scenes very definitely used that public sentiment to get away with something that maybe under normal circumstance they wouldn't be able to, you know, with this false notion that they foisted on the world about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction, and the resulting invasion that they made on Iraq, which has put us in the turmoil that the world is in right now. And that's largely responsible for it, because they destabilized Iraq. I mean, Iraq was under the iron grip of Saddam, but at least the good part about that was that it kept Al-Qaeda, which at the time then was the key terrorist organization, it kept them out. And so that was one less place that they could use as a base and recruitment and on and on. So by destabilizing Iraq, suddenly it seemed like it was without government, and in large part that was true. Al-Qaeda got a foothold there, and here we are, and now with ISIS and so forth. Anyway, I don't mean to rehash all the crap, but you know, it really pissed me off, and it still does, that the mainstream media didn't report on the obvious. You know, when it was very clear, and it really was from the outset, that there were no weapons of mass destruction, that it was really just a ruse in order to create this invasion for other purposes. The mainstream media knew this, but they didn't report it. They didn't talk about it, and yet it was obvious. And I mean, in other administrations, my goodness, a president has sex under the desk, and he gets impeached and so forth. But a president and officials that create a war that has cost tens of thousands of lives and destabilized the entire Middle East. Yeah, not even a slap on the wrist. And everybody just kind of let it go. Strange. Well, I bring it up because let's not repeat this. You know? Don't be so naive in thinking that governments can interfere with the affairs of other countries just to make them look like them, you know, to make the world a mirror image of themselves. It doesn't work that way. And when you interfere with countries, there are ramifications that result that you cannot predict. Unexpected consequences. It's like how we meddle in nature, trying to control things, and we introduce a species that isn't native or whatever, and you know, to control a certain pest or whatever, thinking that we're doing the right thing, and then we create an imbalance, and it has consequences down the line that, just like a domino effect, can't predict. We don't know enough. I seem to be on a rant lately, don't I? But hey, maybe that's true to the name of the channel, Blast from the Saddle. So that's kind of my blast for today. I don't want to see the world go through more upheaval And so with this presidential election coming up, I sure hope that people choose wisely and then make that president, whomever it is, accountable throughout the term. You know, you can't create stability in the world through violence and invasion. It's kind of like if you worked in a corporation where you had a lot of fellow workers, and suddenly there was a faction of fellow workers that had totally different ideas to the ones that you have, and if they got their ideas instituted, then your job would change, and you don't like that. And lots of people you know don't like it. Well, would the answer be you would go there and kick the shit out of them? I mean, no, you wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't physically try to tie them to their desks and coerce them until they change their minds. What would you do? You would talk, right? You would have a discussion. You'd have a board meeting or whatever. And why is it then that what works in private life, and the only choice that people normally make in private life and in business life, suddenly doesn't seem to work in political life and the relationships and working relationships, hopefully, between countries? Why is it that one of the main tactics employed is force and violence? I mean, think about it. We accept these things almost. I mean, we shouldn't, but it seems like that's the case. That, oh, well, that's the government, that's the way the governments work. They got no other choice. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. You know, when Obama was first elected, one of the things that he was criticized for, and they said, oh, you know, he's being naive. He doesn't understand, you know, foreign politics and relations and dealing with these other countries. He doesn't understand. Because Obama said, I believe in the power, well, these aren't his words, but it's, you know, what he meant. I believe in the power of talk. And he wanted to sit down and talk with people we have a difference with. Including, he went as far as including terrorist organizations or quasi-terrorist organizations, you know, dangerous people. So he was employing the same tactics that 90% of the population would use in a business situation. And to me that made sense. I thought, wow, that's refreshing. Maybe he tried and it didn't work, I don't know. But, or maybe the people in power behind him and beneath the scenes kind of blocked and thwarted his efforts. Maybe we'll never know. Maybe a lot of people out there surely know a hell of a lot more than I do about this. I'm not political savvy. I just know what I think is wrong with the world, and some of the obvious truths that I see seem to be missed, you know, in the media and in what I read and see. So anyway, there's another rant for you, another blast from the saddle. I'll probably get a bunch of people unsubscribing from me for talking about this. As a Canadian, what business is it of mine, eh? Well, I'll tell you what, it's the business of anyone in the world. It is our world, and it's in trouble. We need to get it out of trouble. And we need to get it out of trouble by doing something different than what we did to get it into this mess. We can't continue to do the same thing and expect it to change.